Drink it in, man.
Back, pressure card, gonna get hit, gonna go down, sack back outside the 50-yard line. Ziggy did it.
Drink it in, man.
He's got a man wide open. Golden at the 10, Golden at the 5, Golden to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. There it is. Been looking for that all night. Cornbread. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Kool-Aid, what's going on, everybody? We are back, and I'm here with Grifka. Grifka, how was your bye week, buddy?
Kind of boring, to be honest with you.
It doesn't matter how your bye week was. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It was just kind of boring, man. No Lions to watch.
Oh, man. Well, I'm refreshed. It's the second half of the season. I'm ready to go here on the Detroit Kool-Aid cast. So, Grifka, my next question is, why do you hate Ziggy Ansah so much?
The guy never plays. Sorry, the guy's getting...
What do you mean? He's gonna be playing in Miami. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, until something comes up where he's going to get sunburn on his shoulders from staying on South Beach all day Saturday, and then he won't be able to get his shoulder pads on, so he'll have to be a healthy scratch or a scratch for that game. That guy gets injured like talking to the media. I mean, I don't, whatever.
I hate to get you going here in the beginning, but I want to know the logic behind not wanting a 6'4", 275-pound defensive end to play for our team when we have no pass rush. Explain that to me.
You mean not play like this year or like in the future? Oh, I would love somebody to play for our team, but the term is play, not sit on the sidelines, not sit up in the in the press box and eat chicken wings like your boy Mike Williams did when he was hurt. So, that's...
Yeah, but you root for him. You root for him or kind of make fun and he's not playing. I'm always pissed because I want this guy in the game.
Like I said, I'm not
things.
pissed. I've come to terms with it. It's just like, I mean, is he missed? I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, it'd be nice to see him on the field, but I think the team's kind of like, and moving on, I guess. I mean, he's not going to be around next year. You're not going to give that guy bank just to be hurt, 5 plays into the first game, then take the first 6 weeks off, and then he'll play 2 games against some lesser tackles and, have like 4 sacks, and all of a sudden Ziggy's back, and then, he'll get hurt again and be out for another 5 games. So, I mean, whatever. I mean...
But you're missing the point. You're talking about next year. Oh, well, we're not going to sign him, or what do we want him for? You want him for this game in Miami. You want him for the next game and the game after that. Like,
yeah,
no one's talking about 2019.
Yeah, I want him to.
You don't sound like you ever do.
Once again, seeing is believing with this guy. I've just come to terms with like he probably won't play on Sunday. I mean, so what?
Yeah, but there's a difference between what's going to happen. You never sound like you want this guy on the field or have him make plays for our team. Oh, he's overpaid. He's always hurt. Like, those are facts, but the reality of the Detroit Kool-Aid cast is
it's no different.
This guy $17 million. We want him out there. We want him making plays.
It's no different than everybody was crying about in Dominic and Sue. Oh, he's a dirty player. He's no good. He's a bum. Get rid of him. He's going to be too expensive. Yeah, but you want him on the field, and I told everybody you'll miss him when he's gone. And that defense went in the toilet after he left. I mean, come on.
But again, that's the point. When Ndamukong Suh was here and he was playing, and he was.
I read a bunch of stuff where people wanted to get rid of him. Oh, he was dirty. He was this. He was that. At least he was on the field. I mean, Ziggy's like never on the field.
Get rid of him means let him walk like we did Sue. And I want Ziggy to walk, but I also want him to play right now and make plays and not like, oh, he'll never play. A win knocked him over. Like we need this guy. So anyway, you hate the guy. I don't want to re-sign the guy, but I want him right now. And there's a big difference between the two. You keep talking about next year or he's no good long-term. He's been hurt in the past. I'm talking about right now. We need this guy in Miami. So my question is, will he play? He's practiced. We're recording here on Wednesday. I got the Pistons game about to tip off.
Oh,
I just saw Zeke at.
You'll have to edit that out.
I just saw Zeke
Nobody
at the
cares
mic.
about the Pistons.
Zeke's a freaking legend, and this is the Detroit Kool-Aid Cast, Grifka, so I can talk about my Pistons if I want to. There's only one rule on this show, and you know what it is.
Yeah.
So, will Ziggy play? He did practice, and I'm pulling, hoping. I want to see this guy out there, and yeah, if he gets hurt again, it's frustrating. But then I want him out there the next week, and I want him out there the next week. You just have not only quit on him, you're just talking about the past and the future. I'm talking about right now. Will he play? Will he make plays on Sunday?
Okay, let's go back in the time machine. Let's go back in the time machine here about a week, a little over a week. Do I want him to play? Yes. Will he play? No.
But if your answer is yes, this is like the ultimate question for Grifka. If the question is yes, and you think no, and you're a Lions fan, and you're on the Detroit Kool-Aid Cast, why do you beat up not only on our players, but on a player that's, you said he's not the best defender on our team previously when I spoke to you. Like, he's a top 5 defensive talent, if not overall talent on this team. And why don't you root for the guy when you say yes, you want him to play, and no, he won't? Why would you not pull for a guy that can help our football team win games? I don't get it.
You said top 5 defensive player. Did you say in the league?
No, I said is a top 5 defensive player on this team, if not overall player.
Oh, on the team. Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
like, I guess I misheard. I'm like, in the league, you're going a little farther. But, well, yeah, he's top 5 on this team, so that makes him Lions good. But okay. Like I said, do we need him? Yeah, if the guy could stay healthy on the field. But I've come to expect him not playing. I'm not going to get my hopes up every week, and then Sunday morning when the scratches come out, you see Ziggy on there again. I'm not gonna waste my time doing that.
So my issue with you, and this isn't a Ziggy issue, is why want him to play, expect him not to. Don't dislike the guy, but you always goof on him. And then if he doesn't play, you rag on him on Sundays. If he shows up and makes a couple sacks, you're the first guy in the front row with your 94 jersey on, cheering him on. It's got to be one or the other with me. It can't be both, because then you cover yourself either way. If he's hurt all the time and terrible, you can make fun of him, and if he plays good, you're like, oh, look at Ziggy off the edge. I love this guy.
Okay, I think I did that.
Frustrating.
I think the only time I really did that was his rookie year, when I thought he was a project and I really didn't want him to draft them, because I thought he was a project. But me going crazy after every play he makes, every 8th game, I think you're embellishing there a little bit. But if you're gonna flip on me for ripping on Ziggy or whatever, I believe you did the same thing to Calvin Johnson, because he went and signed your football. Okay, so let's pump the brakes here about you ripping on players and thinking they're no good, or
Totally,
and then being there when
different.
they make a great catch. Because Calvin Johnson would sign your football, and all of a sudden you had hated the guy. And we can get rid of him. He's a quitter. He's the go, whatever, leave, see you, whatever. He's not that great, blah, blah. But then he goes between 3 Cowboys,
boy.
jumps up, makes a great catch, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, Megatron, you're the best. Oh, God. So, let's just, your revisionist history here, you do the same thing. The same thing also, okay? So let's pump the brakes here about this,
People, we got Grifka talking about Apple.
Yeah, apples and
Here's
oranges.
what happened with.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Here's what happened with Calvin Johnson. I used to always say throw him the ball every play. This was when he was in his early 20s and when he was unstoppable. Then as he got broken down and old, I started to sour on him. And then when he quit on our football team and walked away at 28 years old is when you heard me say, get this guy out of here. He's overpaid, he's broken down, and he's a quitter. I did not say that until he had basically already made his decision, walked out the door. There's no comparison between that and a guy that's active.
Oh, you mean as opposed to a guy who worked who played 10 snaps against the Jets, and all of a sudden he's hurt again. Oh yeah, you're right. When Calvin Johnson was broken down and couldn't do anymore, you were saying get rid of this guy. He's overpaid. Okay,
he quit on the team and he left the game.
Ziggy Ansah's 28 years old.
Oh,
he's breaking down. He's overpaid. Get rid of this guy. There you go.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. Well, everybody, as you can see, we came out the chute hot here on the Kool-Aid Cast, coming right off the bye week. Ziggy's a hot topic here, and, man, I hope he plays and makes plays. Grifka hopes his career
I
is
hope-
over
I hope he
tomorrow,
plays
and that's
too.
how it goes. So.
I hope he plays too. I just don't expect him to.
Okay, you covered yourself both ways, so we're good there. So Grifka, Agnew gone. Will this impact the team?
Reading more of who they're going to look to replace him, and like how you spoke on the last podcast about how like kickoffs really don't affect the game anymore. Like you said, it seems like a lot of them end in the just go in the end zone, a lot of touchbacks, and maybe on the punt. But I mean, I don't think it's going to be that large of an impact, to be honest with you. I know we had spoken about potential guys to go back and return punts. I know one name that's always kind of brought up is Golden Tate, and you're not a huge fan of that, simply because it's on punts. Odd things can happen, injuries can happen. Brandon Powell in the preseason looked pretty good at it. I wouldn't mind throwing him back there. We saw him I can't remember which game it was where he took one back to the house. So I don't think I was in agreement with you after reading some stuff and the last podcast where I would just think that part of the special teams doesn't really affect the game as much as it used to in the past. So, I mean, will he be missed on special teams? Probably not much. I mean, he was playing a little more defensive back, and it obviously dips a little deeper into what we have to do. Either signing guys off the practice squad or off the street. But I think he'll be missed a little more on the defense than as opposed to special teams.
Yeah, where I sit with Agnew, I mean, he's had a couple returns this year that have been called back. I mean, people call him an all-pro from last year. To me, like every year or two, there's a rookie that pops off the page, or these guys that get in the Pro Bowl that just kind of had a good year, made a few plays here or there. I wouldn't call him a Pro Bowl, player or a Pro Bowl returner even. I think there's, quite a few guys that I would put up better than him, but like I said, it doesn't really impact the game. He was playing corner a little bit more, but I mean, to me, we're really everybody is down on Tees, and I didn't love that draft pick when it was made, but I've tried to sort of support the guy or hope that he could make plays. He really seemed to fall off, so possibly it gives Lawson and Tees a little chance to show us what they can do, or maybe grow in their roles with him out of there. But I don't think it's a huge loss. I mean, everybody's going crazy about who's going to return. I mean, like you said, I'm sure we can find a guy to kneel down or catch the ball in the end zone for kicks, and then for punts, it's always a bonus whatever you get out of a punt return here or there. So I'm not too worried about it. But that is one of the bigger injuries when Jamal Agnew is one of your bigger injuries coming off the bye week. You're doing pretty well. Did mention off the top that Ziggy sort of practiced today on a Wednesday. What about the word that TJ was back on the field? I mean, that kind of surprised me. And people have been saying, hey, Kenny Wiggins played okay. To me, if TJ's okay medically, and if he has the want to get out there and there's no real issues, again, he's a football player. We're paying him well. He has a gritty spirit. I'd like to see him out there. What are you thinking about TJ back on the practice field already, Grifka?
I was surprised about that. I mean, for the way he looked walking off the field that game, I would have swore that would have been a multiple week. And I don't believe that they're going to let him back on the practice field if he doesn't pass concussion protocol. I don't know all the rules and regulations, to be honest with you. But if he can go this week in Miami, I find it really surprising, to be honest with you. But like you said, I mean, I think having TJ Lang out there is definitely a step or two above having Kenny Wiggins out there. But once again, I mean, it's one of those things. I wish the guy, was his health. I mean, if he loves playing, and he said, I believe in interviews I've read where he said he knows what the risks are. So, I mean, good for you, I guess, if you pass and the doctors are saying, yeah, you're good to go. I mean, I think he's definitely going to help the team out there as opposed to having Kenny Wiggins out there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I always get frustrated when the coaches say, well, I'm not a doctor, or, talk with the medical team when they say he's good to go. He's good to go. I think that's sort of how it goes in the NFL. If these doctors, these professionals clear him and he wants to play, I don't say, keep him out for X, Y, and Z reason. I say, get him out there and have us help our offensive line. So, we'll see what happens there. Grifka, there was a spotting at the Michigan-Wisconsin game. I don't know if you caught it. Bobby Quinn out in the crowd with his family on the sidelines, I think, scouting either some Michigan or some Wisconsin talent. You take anything away from that? Bobby Quinn out there working?
Yeah, and there's a lot of good games on both teams that generally both schools put players in the pros. So just him out there going out to watch a good football game in a great setting to see some talent that, could fall in Detroit's lap depending on where they pick. Under the guise of I'm taking my family to a good college football game, man, more power to you. I mean, I guess what's surprising is maybe he was out in the seats as opposed to like one of those cushy boxes, that were nice and warm because, I mean, it was cold out there. I happened to be at the game as well, but I mean that breeze coming out of the northwest wasn't the best. But if he's out there, scoping out some talent that he could be looking to draft next year, and there's a lot of guys on both teams that are supposed to be good prospects. Good for him.
Yeah, I think he was on the sideline. I mean, Bobby Quinn's not a up in the luxury box type of guy to me. He just likes to grind it out and probably just enjoying with his family, but also having that scout's eye on everything. I got two side questions in regard to this before we get into the main topics of the show today. I was thinking about it the other day, Grifka, and to me, Bobby Quinn, as much as I support him and think he's done a pretty good job, when I looked back at it or thought about it, I was like, man, he kind of took an easier route these first few years, drafting interior linemen, drafting kind of safe players across the board. He hasn't really rolled the dice on any top skill guys or any guys with a bunch of red flags or anybody that, would surprise us. I think, what do you think about that? He's kind of past his time now where in this draft, he can't really go take another, what I like to call a meat and potatoes type player. It has to be a swing for the fences or try to get us more of a top difference maker instead of, hey, the top guy on the board was, another right guard to replace TJ. I don't think he can go that route this year. What do you think?
I think he needs a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. That's what I think he needs to go for. I'm reading all these things, and like you said, he should look at another offensive lineman in the first round to start to, for TJ Lang or maybe another center or somebody like that, to bump Glasgow out, to replace Lang. And I've even read things they need to look at a tight end because they're getting no tight end production. At this point, I think this team needs defense, and they need a spark on the defense. I mean, I think that's where we keep going back to. We need Ziggy coming off the edge. They need a defender to make some big splash plays and key situations. That defensive end that on 3rd and long that'll get you a sack or knocking down a screen pass or something like that, or
kind of like Ziggy when he's out there healthy.
Yeah, and then he gets hurt when he jumps up. Or a defensive tackle that can put pressure up the middle. I'm not quite for sure if that's what the Lions defense is or they're more of the gap, just hold your spot, take up space, let the linebackers make the tackle. But there's points where that middle of the defensive line needs to get some sort of push. And I know the Patriots used to have that with Vince Wilfork, and they really liked that. And I know they had Richard Seymour that would bump down and do that, and then they traded him to Oakland. He had a few good years out in Oakland, but I think they need somebody like that, and there's a lot of that at the top of the draft, the first 5, 6, 7 picks. But I don't want the Lions to have that record where they have one of the top 5, 6, 7 picks. Well,
but hey, let me jump in though. But what I'm saying is so if he's picking in the 20s again, and I'm always hey, take best available, take value, that type of thing. But if it comes down to a defensive tackle or a freaky edge rusher, or even I want to get a nasty outside or inside linebacker that just is a havoc on the defensive side of the ball. I feel our secondary is pretty well. I think he's got to be a little bit more bold. I mean, everybody was so happy that we passed on Reuben Foster and we took Jared Davis, and now I hear all these people second guessing, going oh man, I don't know, Foster's cleared and he's playing like a beast, and Jared Davis is struggling. I mean, I had Reuben Foster as my pick, but again, I don't know all the characteristics or medical, but I think it's going to take a nasty guy like that one of these years where we just roll the dice a little bit more. So I don't want to get on a huge side tangent, but when Michigan and Wisconsin, I was they're mostly known for some of their big uglies and whatnot, but I want to see him out in the SEC, like scouting some of these top, like you said, edge rushers, linebackers, a nasty safety to replace Glover would be nice. So I'm really hoping that's what he'll do. But it got me thinking. The other thing I wanted to bring up real quick. So again, I'm on the Matt Pat pressers. I usually go on there and promote the Kool-Aid cast a little bit or just put on a few posts. But again, the trolls are out, man. Every time I go on there, the trolls are out talking about fire Bob Quinn. Bob Quinn's the problem. Like, to me, I mean, these people, they just don't get football if that's your take, because if you look at this guy's track record, everybody has misses in the draft. He's had a few. But I want to say for the majority, a lot of his free agent signings, like the mid to upper tier ones have not like totally crapped out. Like, again, lower tier guys, it's a 50-50 coin flip at best. A lot of his like mid to later round picks, have been more good than bad, I would say. I mean, I keep going on there going, man, I'm still super happy with the tandem or the trio of Bob Quinn, Matt Pat, and Matt Stafford. Like, I hedge on that last one a little bit because I want to bring him up in another podcast here at some point about, every game when we're at year 10 and he's got all these weapons and we're still not blowing people out or he's not consistent as I'd like, I'm debating on if he's going to win big here in Detroit or when it's going to happen. But I still love Matt Pat and Bobby Quinn leading this franchise from a scouting perspective, a draft, building a team, bringing in a new scheme, a new work ethic. Like, I'm all about it. But man, the troll, you should see him on these pressers, Grifka. They're just ragging on. Get a new coach. Get the GM out of here. I'm like, for what? What has he done that's been where that's killing our team?
Right. I mean, is our shelf life is the shelf life over already? I mean, right. He hasn't been here all that
Matt
long.
Matt Pat's been here for 5 games, and Bobby Quinn like 2.5, 3 years, whatever it's been. Like, come on.
I mean, give him at least a few years. I mean, I think there's some spark in this team. I believe that Matt Patricia can, lack of a better term at this point, early in the season with the record, get the team turned around. This team's not horrible. I mean, yeah, we and you both agree they lost some very winnable games, but I think that they can still get into the playoffs, and that I don't think that's even like pie in the sky. I mean, based on where this division is, and yeah, I know the Packers kind of snuck away with a win from the 49ers the other night, and the Bears pretty much gave up a game to the Dolphins that were playing, this week, and the Vikings, beat up on, I can't remember who they beat by, I think the Cardinals last week is who they played by 10, and that game was at home, but that's one of those things, like, I don't think this division, it's tough, but I know we had talked about how they'll be knocking each other off, but this division's still very winnable. I mean, none of these teams we speak of are going to go run away with it. So to say, like, fire Matt Patricia now, get rid of Bob Quinn now, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in the world, man. I mean, that's just dumb. Like, yeah, at least give them a couple more years. And yeah, like you said, they've had a few misses in here, but some of the signings have made complete sense. But that's, like you said, I mean, I think people just see the lines, but that happens all over the place. That happens on every team, where there's only so many superstars that are actually, they'll go and be free agents. There's only so many times you can, like, get lucky when somebody thinks the tread is gone on somebody like Randy Moss in New England, trades for him, and all of a sudden he's like Randy Moss again. That doesn't happen all the time. I mean, it just doesn't happen. But I don't know, for people to, like, all of a sudden saying fire him, and who are you going to bring in? What, you going to give it to the Jim Bob? Are you going to give it to Paul Pasqualoni? What, you going to give it to, like, the special teams coordinator? I mean, I don't know, but I think at this point that's probably got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the first time I can remember where the Lions have a head coach and a GM that legitimately, not only enjoy working together, but have the same philosophy and the same type of work ethic, came from the same place. I mean, even before, when you'd hear GMs and coaches, I love working with so-and-so. I mean, you could just feel that, you knew either they weren't that well working together or they just had different views on things. So they were always just piecing it together. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up about Bobby Quinn. Like people need to, like you said, and give him a decade before I start to judge him. But I mean, he's got his coach now. He's rebuilt our O-line in 2 years. We have some skill guys both now, and he got a couple long-term deals done that have been good. So I feel good about it, man. So Griff, a couple more topics, and then we'll dive into some other things. So I've got my mind here. Brandon Powell, like this guy tore it up in the preseason. They kept him on the roster. He's never been active. I mean, now with Agnew out, it feels like a chance that this guy can get out and make plays. But how does a guy go from having a pretty good resume, both, out of college, undrafted type of guy, tear it up in the preseason, look really good in all these underneath routes, and we can't find a role for him on this team? I mean, again, when I'm giving you a hard time about Ziggy, it's because he's such a top-end player. You hear me rag on how terrible TJ Jones, some of these scrubs are. Like, to me, I mean, there's a difference. We can sort of have differing or opinions on the lower tier guys, but like to me, Brandon Powell shouldn't be coming in at least challenging TJ Jones, some of these other players for snaps or for. I loved what he did, moving the chains and doing things in the preseason. So can this guy make an impact either in the return game, as we said, or could he get out there and just be a good fourth receiver here at some point? I want to see something from this guy.
Well, I know we had spoke before. I think TJ Jones is in the position he's in is because he's been here. He's a veteran. He knows the offense. If it's one of those things where Brandon Powell can show a little bit, maybe that affects him, those guys, that fourth, fifth, sixth wide receiver, in the next year or two. Can he do something this year? I think this is going to have to be his spot right here. If they're going to use him in the kickoff and punt return job, to save, like we said, a Golden Tate, trying to save him from injury, where the only way he would go back there is if Brandon Powell, when something happens, you always see it on a punt where a guy, lets the ball, drop as opposed to picking it up when he can and it bounds, down inside the 20 or inside the 10, or he's, or punt returner has his feet on the 10, then backs up to the 2 to catch a punt, and that's when the next time there's a punt, a new guy's out there. Something like that. Now, out there running routes at wide receiver, I don't know. Like you said, we see it every preseason, not just on the line, on every team. There's like that guy that comes out of nowhere, has 3 touchdowns, and is cracking almost 100 yards every game, making these great plays, but he's doing it against like the 4th team defense. All I can think is there's got to be a reason why he's not active. There's got to be a reason why, and all I can figure is maybe because he's an undrafted rookie, and they trust the TJ Joneses of the team, and as opposed to putting a rookie out there who's still I guess learning the way. So that's all I can think is why. But this is going to be a spot right here if this is what they're going to use him as.
Yeah, and I just wanted to quickly bring him up, but like my thing is when you hear me bring up guys like this and say, hey, he tore it up in the preseason and he looked good, that doesn't mean I expect him to come in and be, Julian Edelman in the slot. It just means, hey, looking at him, knowing, receivers the way I do, like he looked fluid. He could get in and out of routes. He could catch the ball when it's thrown to him. He could move the chains. Like, to me, we need a few more players like that when, like you said, we have no tight end production and we don't have, any production from TJ Jones. I mean, I'm not here to keep people around just because they sort of know the scheme or they've been there. I'm here to find guys that can not only make plays but can have a little juice, have a little something. And I just want to see what he has. I mean, if he made 2 catches a game, and they were either, chain movers or they were nice little plays underneath, like that's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a bona fide number 3, 4, 5 receiver. I'm just looking for a new guy that can maybe make plays. I want to see what this guy has. So hopefully, like you say, he'll get his chance, or, not expecting the world, just want to see what he has in real games, or I don't see there's any reason why he's not in the mix for that 4th spot. I mean, it feels like, there's not many other guys in front of him that have really proven themselves. So we'll see what happens. with Powell. I mean, I'm hoping to see a few things here in the next few weeks, and like I say, if not, I think he's still a piece that if Golden Tate goes away, like I said, I like who I saw, but just as a complimentary wide receiver, that's all I see him as. So, Grifka, we're long-term Michigan Wolverines guys, but we got to get it out there now. Prediction for the big game, Michigan versus MS Boo. What do you think?
This 6.5 point line, 7 point line, Michigan favorite.
Oh boy,
that's way too big a line. I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd be in Vegas right now, putting my money, taking the Spartans in the points.
Oh.
I mean,
Grifka, you know what I should do on this show is I should just tee up a question for you and then like pause you before you talk, and I'll just give your answer for you, because there's no doubt I know what you're gonna say. Like 90% of the time, I know you're gonna be like a couple of my other Michigan buddies are. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, Michigan State looking good. They got me worried. So go ahead, say it. Go on the diatribe.
They do got me worried.
Oh,
they do got me worried. I mean, it always seems something stupid. I mean, the anniversary of the punt, where Michigan should have won that game. The downpour last year in Michigan Stadium, where like John O'Crap continued to throw the ball to Michigan State because the linebackers and defensive backs were wide open. So,
Grifka, let me ask you one question. It's a very simple question. What does 2 years ago and last year have anything to do with this game on Saturday? Please tell me.
Nothing.
So why is that factoring into your thinking? Those were games last year. There's not many of those players. None of that like bad things that happened are going to come into to haunt us. This is a brand new football game. I don't know how many times we got to go over this. Like when they kick it off, none of this past garbage matters. Like that's just loser mentality, and that's woe is me, and oh man, I'm worried because the Sparties beat somebody the week before. Like I'm not saying this is going to be a huge blowout. It's a rivalry game. It's going to be close. But I've had to listen to like 3, 4, 5 friends already go, oh man, I'm super nervous. Like, this is going to be like they're thinking that we're going to lose, and I'm just looking at it going, all right, who's the better football team? Most people would agree the Wolverines have a better team this year. Yes, it's in East Lansing. So like my quick response was, I think it'll be a pretty close game, but I'm not too worried because I feel like we have a quarterback finally, and I feel that, hey, you can't go into every year thinking, oh, man, this is going to be just a coin flip when we have a crazy good defense, we have a good quarterback, we probably have similar to better skilled players, a great running game. Like, I don't see why you can't go up there and win it pretty soundly, have the Wolverines walk out pretty soundly. And in the rivalry game, that means 7, 10, maybe 14 points. In college football, like 14 points is still 10 to 14 is still kind of close.
Okay. But yeah, I'm worried. So do I think the Michigan Wolverines are going to win the game? Yeah. Do I want them to win? Yeah. But it's going to be a close game. I mean, I think it's going to be closer than 10. Yeah. But okay. I mean, hey, no problem. When you said not too worried, see, I'm not too worried when they play like Indiana. And I'm not even worried when they play teams like Rutgers. I mean, come on, me and you and 9 other guys could go beat Rutgers. But that's not too worried. But this game, I mean,
but the thing is, when is Grifka or all these other like fans gonna finally? Are you ever gonna have confidence in your team, or are you just gonna go into every game? Go, I don't know. It's a coin flip. It should be close. Like they could say that every time.
Actually, last week when they played Wisconsin, I was less worried about Wisconsin than I was this game. I was more confident that they were going to beat Wisconsin.
Well, of course.
I really was. They had Taylor.
I'm not talking about these other games. I'm talking about Michigan State, Ohio State. Like every year, it feels like people, no matter how good our team is, what kind of role we're on, is always going to look at the other side and go, I don't know. We could probably lose this game. Like, I don't know. It's the same old story every year, I think, with people. And then, if they lose, you could see, oh, see, I told you. If they win, like, you should get no points because you were just hemming and hawing about your team. That's how I feel. You gotta be confident when you have a decent team, and like, yeah, if we go in there and lose, hey, I'll tip my cap, but I'm not gonna go in there hemming and hawing, going, I don't know, it'd probably be, I can see the Sparties winning when I really don't see them winning.
Okay.
So, all right, people. Well, there's a little college football talk. I'm sure we got a lot of Sparty fans that are yelling at their phone or however you're listening to this right now.
Or
But like you say,
unsubscribing right now.
yeah, like you say, go blue from this side. But like you say, I love college rivalry games. It's a big game in the state, so we had to talk about it for a second. So, with that being said, Grifka, my main item I want to talk to you about today is we're returning from the bye week. And not only will this Lions team return with a purpose, but I got a few items here I want to talk about if they're going to, what the heck that means. So right off the top, do you think this team's going to return with a purpose and some mojo, sort of like how they went into the bye week?
Yeah. Like we had talked, I believe the team is really starting to buy into what Patricia has brought as a coach. And, I mean, they beat the Patriots, they beat the Packers, a week off to, really reflect, say, yeah, this stuff is getting done right. We can go down to Miami, win this game, and, make some hay with the schedule that's coming up. So, yeah, I believe this team is going to come back with a purpose, come out, with their reckless abandon and go out and try to, kick some butt, and really start racking up some W's.
So let me ask you this. Like, we're going to get into the Dolphins game on our Friday show. It usually drops Friday morning for everybody out there listening. It's usually where we kind of tee up the game coming up that Sunday. So if you think they're going to return with a purpose, I got a few questions or topics here. Do you think we're going to see a more aggressive defense against not only the Dolphins, but moving forward? Like blitzes, I'm talking, more sound tackling, maybe a better Jared Davis, more edge pass rush. From what I love that I've seen from Okwara, and even I think Eli Harold's been a nice little pickup here and there. So will this defense be more aggressive across the board in your opinion?
I don't think they're going to blitz more than what they have been doing. They've been getting pressure on the quarterback, even though at points it doesn't seem like there is. Then I read how many sacks they have this year, and it's went in the top 10.
Yeah.
What they have for sacks this year.
Yeah.
So I think they believe that the defense is working. It's just a matter of getting the scheme down. That's what they say hurt them against the Jets, and that's kind of what affected them against the 49ers. Everybody just doing their job. So I don't see them trying to blitz more. Maybe they're more aggressive on the third downs, trying to get the quarterbacks to do quick reads and stuff like that, more, hot routes. But usually good quarterbacks can read those right off the bat. And if they were to do that, they're just going to pick on Nevin Lawson. So I think the defensive scheme, what they've been running, that's probably what they're going to stick with.
So I want to jump in real quick when you talked about sacks, because here's one thing I preached the last few years with the Lions. So years ago when we thought we had decent teams or we had skilled players, they'd be like our starters. And then a new regime would come in, or we'd get some better draft picks and we bump them down a peg, is what I would always say. Certain guys would get bumped down to be backups. And then if another really good player came in, then they were like the backups. So when you talk about our sacks and getting after the quarterback, remember how high we were 2 years ago on Kerry Hyder and even Zettel? Oh man, these guys get to the quarterback. They're good hustlers. They putting up some production. Not only did we just boot Zettel out of, off the team, but Kerry Hyder can't find the field. I don't even know if he's been active for more than a game or two this year. So to me, that's not only the new scheme, that's talent that we used to value getting pushed down. So I think that's something to be excited about our sack numbers being where they are, and they're coming from new guys that were not drafted, but picked up and brought on by this regime. So that's exciting. Like you say, the scheme is probably creating some sacks, and just our back end coverage, which we'll get to later, is also helping with these coverage type sacks, you would think. So you got to love those sack numbers, no doubt. I mean, I don't know if I agree with you about the blitzing. I think this team is starting to get a little bit of a groove of where they're supposed to be, the techniques they're supposed to use. So I think you'll see coaches start to tune it up a little bit of, okay, they got the basics down. They're playing more sound football. We can start bringing some more exotic blitzes or start implementing more each week, which that's all I want to see, is a little bit more creativity and a little bit more aggressive new things every few weeks. Oh, wow, we hadn't seen that corner blitz, or, oh, I love Glover coming down and locking up somebody or coming off the edge a little bit. So, I'm hoping and thinking we'll see that more and more as this goes on. But to me, they got to be more aggressive if they're going to come out with a purpose. I don't want to see some of this vanilla, just basic across the board as far as our team goes. So that leads me to my next point. So like on the offense side of the ball, we saw like we saw Kenny emerge. We've seen some other players make plays. Golden Tate had a nice first handful of games before the bye week. To me, Marvin Jones, Grifka, has kind of he's been there and he's made a few plays, but he hasn't been as impactful as he was last year, where people felt like he really sort of turned the corner. But he's made the plays that have been there to him. Do you expect to see more Marvin or a more dynamic Marvin Jones as we come off the bye week here?
I think we're going to see this the exact same thing that we've been seeing out of Marvin Jones. They're going to try to continue to take their deep shots down the field when they're there, scheme them into the game plans like they did against San Francisco, and that was just Stafford overthrowing him on a few deep balls. I know they've looked for him in the end zone, inside the red zone. They've done that a few times. Stafford, when it's been close, it was just thrown out of bounds. Last couple weeks ago when they played against the Packers, they found Marvin Jones in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. So I think he's just going to kind of keep running the same scheme. The way they've been doing it, I don't think they're going to say we need to get Marvin the ball more. But where this offense is at, what it's doing, Kenny Boy's getting his catches. Golden Tate's doing what he does, catching the ball underneath, scooting for first downs, being skittish that way. So I think Marvin's going to continue to do what Marvin's doing. I don't see them really, like I said, adjusting game, whole schemes, game plans. It's like, saying we need to get the ball to Marvin more. So I think it's, it's going to be where it's at right there.
Grifka, I don't know. I kind of disagree with you on that one. Like, I feel like they're going to start rolling coverage to like GT and Galladay and those type of guys. And that's going to open up things for Marvin Jones. Like I say, I've sort of liked the way he's played in the beginning. He hasn't had, maybe a drop or two, but not many. He's made some nice plays. Some have counted, some haven't, be it based on penalties. But I think if they start trying to double up other people, he's going to open up, and I could see him making plays. So I'm looking for him to be a little bit more impactful, but like you said, sort of keep doing what you're doing too, because I think he's blossoming into a nice all-around nice athlete at receiver, which is a good compliment to our current guys. And I could see him and Galladay with another third guy being a nice little duo for the next not 4 years, maybe 2-3 years here with that crew. Now, let me ask you this, a little side topic on the same item. There's been a lot of pub about the Lions have a great trio of receivers. I mean, I've been touting Kenny G for the whole offseason, and he's really shown up. The Big Hughes, who's been on this podcast, his boy is Golden Tate. This guy he wants us to re-sign him. He loves him, and he's been making plays too. And me, you, and everybody we've kind of talked about. We love Marvin Jones coming in this year. He doesn't really have the stats, but he's been okay. Do the Lions really have a top receiving core, though? Because I was thinking about it the other day. I mean, just off the top of my head, Pittsburgh, L.A., I could probably name off a handful more that I feel like have the top three guys, excuse me, are the same or better than the Lions. I think the Lions are starting to get a lot of love, but I don't know if they're that impactful. I'd put them top 8, top 10, but I'm not putting them up in the top 5 range.
I think this year with the offense trying to establish more of the run and use the run more, I think that's maybe what you're thinking right there, that you could think of these other teams that have better wide receiving cores than that. But I don't know, who's the third wide receiver in Pittsburgh? Who's the third wide receiver in LA? Who's the third wide receiver in Minnesota? Those are some decent wide receiving cores right there. I mean, I could probably put the Lions in the top 5, maybe 5th, but what they're rolling out there with Golden Tate, being the undercover guy, Marvin Jones stretching the field, Kenny Galladay running the post, running, up and out, something like that. He can even run underneath, and when they need 8 yards, he'll catch the ball at 6 yards and then beat the guy around the corner to get the last 2. So yeah, I could probably see them, top 5, Yeah, I can because simply like I said, who's the third wide receiver in those other spots? Like really, yeah, who's the third wide receiver in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, let me
I mean, yeah, we
let
know
me.
Antonio Brown and Juju, but who's the third?
Yeah, well, he hasn't totally taken off yet, but like I'm talking about dynamic. Like when you name those teams, like James Washington is a dynamic, over the top type young receiver that gives people problems. Like, in LA it's Woods, Cup, and Cooks. You know what I mean? Like those big splash plays, and it's probably partly because of their offense out with the Rams. But like, I like the Lions as a solid workman-like group. But I don't go into each week going, oh man, these guys are going to take the top off the defense. These guys are going to score 50-yard touchdowns. I feel like we dink and dunk a lot, or kind of like move down the field. Like when I'm talking top 5, top 8 wide receiver course, you got to be able to just put the fear of God in people. And I don't know that we do
Well,
that.
I think part of that is also maybe the offense that they're running. I mean, everybody. I remember the old, you see the videos of the old AFL days where everything was like the Mad Bomber, and everybody's just, throwing Hail Marys and bombs every play. I mean, maybe that's the Rams' offense. It's because they can run those plays, since everybody always has to fill up the box to try to stop Todd Gurley. And so maybe that's what happens there. Maybe it's just the offense they run. That, like I said, the Lions are trying to establish a run more where guys were keeping the safeties back. I mean, we saw it happen against New England, where it's like, okay, now they're running, so they had to bring up the other safety in the box, so it opened up more down the field. So maybe it's just the offense they run.
I guess so, but I mean, you need they're like the Pistons to me, like with this being Pistons opening night, like when they had a good team but no stars. Like our receiver core is 3 good players that are okay, but I mean, Marvin Jones is what, a top 20, top 25 type receiver. Golden Tate, top 20-ish receiver. Kenny Galladay probably still in like the 30s or more as far as overall. So even guys like you just named off New England, at least they have a talent like Josh Gordon. They have a grinder like Julian Edelman, and they have some of these other young guys as that third piece, or like even a Hogan as a guy that he just produces when he's given the opportunity. So I don't know. I feel like if they had a top guy, it would make me feel like they're more dynamic. But I feel every week that I don't know who's going to dominate the game, which is a good and a bad thing. And 2, I just want them to see them like really show out. And like you said, offense or not, like, yeah, they need to be given the opportunities, but I just always hear them as a top one. And I just don't know. To me, they really got to put up some points and put up some big plays throughout this whole year to make me say, yeah, man, we got a dynamic receiving core, instead of just, we got a really good, solid receiving core, but no guys that can go out and win a football game for us. Like even Tyreek Hill and Sammy and the guy Conley out in Kansas City, I go into weeks thinking those guys can win you a game, by their dynamic playmaking and their quarterback. And that's what we need to have too. We got the quarterback and we should have the receivers. And we do. I'm not bagging on them. I just wanted to bring that up of, to me, they're top 10 right now, and I'd love to see them in that top 5, but they got 11 more games to really put it all together and put up points. Like, we scored 30 once or twice, but I'd like to see them score 30 or, another handful of times this year to really put them on the map. So with let's do this, Grifka. So we think this team's going to come out with a purpose. We differ on if they're going to be aggressive or what Marvin's going to do, things like that. I mean, we've talked about in previous shows where I want him to feature carry on. I want him, once they feature carry on, to go play action, run it and chuck it, as I call it, where they show the run, or they show you they can run it, and then they show you the run and they throw it up over the top. That's kind of what I want to see. But how about, we've got some questions too that were submitted this week. So let me just give you a couple players, key players for the rest of the season, and just give me a sentence or two of, 1, you think they're going to be impactful, or 2, just kind of what you think they'll do the rest of this year. I mean, like I say, we got 11 games left, which is crazy. That's a ton of football to play. So first one on my list, Kerryon Johnson. Grifka, what do you think?
I think he's going to have to be very impactful if this team wants to do what it wants to do in the second half of the season, or at least after the bye. He'll obviously, I think, be the starter. He's been doing that last couple games, and I think at some point, with him being a rookie, they always say the rookies hit the wall at some point. I think there's going to be a point now. The team's going to have to make some hay right now. So I believe he's going to be featured a little more in the running game than, say, like LeGarrette Blount. But there's going to be a point later in the year where it's going to, I think, kind of where water's going to find its level again, where Carrion's going to be, the reins are going to be pulled in a little bit. LeGarrette Blount's going to play a little more, simply to try to save him. If the team's at where it wants to be at, say, in week 11, week 12, to save him for the remainder of the season. So I think he's gonna have to be a big part of this team for the remainder of the year.
Okay, I like your answer, but you exceeded your 1 to 2 sentence quota, so we gotta move through these. But Grifka, how many times? I want to do a quick follow up on Carrion. How many times, if Grifka has to guess, will he get 20 plus carries this year
in the remaining games?
Yes.
Gosh, I'll say 4.
So 4 times, because to me, 20 carries is really getting the rock and doing some things. So we'll see. I'd like to see that number up around 6 to 8. I know they'll still spread it out, but he's got to be the workhorse at least, 6 games or more for me to really feel good about it. Jared Davis, Grifka, talk to me, sentence or two.
He had a good game against the Packers. Still has to improve in his coverage for him to be the big difference maker in the defense.
Will he improve in the second half and be that guy?
I believe he'll continue to improve, but it might be one of those things where it's small incremental things, and all of a sudden between, week, 6 and week, 8, all of a sudden he's becoming, Mike Singletary, something like that.
Yes, glad you got the throwback in for the people. So my quick take is keep doing what you did against Dallas and Green Bay, because I saw some flash plays. I saw some good football by that guy. So keep that up, and I think we'll be like when we have at middle linebacker. So I'm still high on the guy. Stefan or Quandre Diggs with the busted up hand. What do you think?
He's going to be solid. We need him back there. So he's going to be solid and continue to play with that cast until it's ready to come off.
So you think he can be solid with you don't think it's going to be worse, or that he'll be out a few games this year? You don't see him miss any time?
No. Yeah, he would have done that from the jump. He would have done that. If he would have missed games, it would have been from the jump. I mean, he was out there practicing with a cast the next week, so he'll be out there.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I feel like that's something that can hinder your play. The more games you see him with that cast, then can also get worse. I mean, yeah, it's got a little cast on it, but it's getting banged around week after week. I mean, I don't know that it's going to get better, but I think that we need him to not only be able to make tackles and make plays, but I liked his play on the football too. In this as his career moves forward, and it's gonna be hard to do with the cast. So we'll see. I think he's important to the defense. We already talked about Marvin Jones. He was on my list. We already kind of detailed why he might be a key player and what he might do moving forward. Another guy that's been a hot topic on this podcast, Grifka, Big Mike Roberts. What do you think? You think he's gonna both come back and be impactful at all, or not so much?
I'm thinking maybe a total of 5 touchdowns this year, all red zone threat. I don't think he's going to be middle of the field threat, between 20 to 20. I don't see that happening.
I think I got you on some Big Mike Kool-Aid, because you just threw out 5 touchdowns like that's nothing. I mean, for a tight end, these guys barely get. I think a good tight end in the league would be like 7, 8 touchdowns. So you got him right up in the upper echelon if he does come back. So I'm all for that, but I think that's gonna be tough to get.
Well, no, I think based on the other tight ends, I think what he brings to the table against what the other tight ends in this on the roster have. I mean, once he's back healthy, I mean, I think he's going to be the forgotten guy down there, because they're going to be looking for the jump ball to Kenny, that back line run that they have against that Marvin Jones, that drag that he runs, or that little crossing route that Golden Tate runs and steps into the end zone. We talked about it before, where like in San Francisco, where Luke Wilson was wide open, 2 yards from the end zone, nobody was around him, and Stafford just missed him. I think Mike Roberts down there, his body size, I think people are just going to kind of forget about him on the defense, and he could be that tight end that just kind of sneaks off into the corner of the end zone, just standing there, just wide open, saying, "Throw me the ball." So, like I said, I think he's going to be more of a red zone as opposed to chain mover when you're at a 3rd and 3 on your own 40. So that's kind of the way I look at it right there.
Yeah. Well, I hear you, but I mean, like, we have no idea what his injury is. Nobody's saying, I haven't heard anything that he's coming back. We're in week 6. What is it, week 6 or 7 right now? 7, right?
Yeah, we're going to 7.
Going into 7, we had the bye. So, like, he's got to get back in the next few weeks to get anywhere close to those totals. Like, for me, I just like to see him back on the field. And, like, if he got 3 touchdowns or 2 even, but they were impactful, helped us win a football game, I mean, that's almost like my best case scenario. But
yeah, but didn't Fournier have 5 touchdowns for the Lions one year? I mean, he wasn't like anything else. But...
I think he got up near 8 to 10, but I mean, that was a fluke, and he
yeah.
was out there the whole year, and we featured him there. I mean, Mike Roberts, like I say, he might miss another handful of games. We have no idea, but I think that, if he does miss and he doesn't produce, he's really one of those draft misses, and he might be a bubble guy, but I'm hoping I put him on my key players list because, like I say, no tight end production, and I had high hopes for him as that red zone threat as you detailed. So we'll see. There's plenty of other players that'll be key guys. Just threw a few names out here. I threw out this name because, I mean, he makes a decent salary. We detailed that at the beginning of the year. He's made plays in the past. I feel like this year he's been kind of no man's land. I remember maybe 1 or 2 plays he's made all year. Theo Riddick. I also heard he was sort of out or hurt today in practice. Like, is Theo going to find a role like he did, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, where he was just nightmare in the pass game and really every game you could count on him for X amount of catches and a red zone threat? Or is this guy just lost his role and lost his place on the team type of guy?
I don't think he's lost his role or lost his place. I think it's just where the offense has been. I mean, I think Theo is very effective when the teams behind the chains are down. That's when he's in the game, obviously. If they're always ahead of the chains, they're not, if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, the run option is still in the playbook. So I don't think they're going to put Theo in there to, try to, go off tackle or up the middle to pick up the couple yards. When he's in there, I think all teams are going to be like, okay, this is a pass play on 3rd down. So they're going to scheme for it. I mean, I just think as long as the team's in front of the chains and moving the ball down the field, I just don't think he's going to be out there unless there's injuries. But the only time I really think he's going to be out there when it's 3rd and mid to long, or if the team's down and they need that guy to, catch the ball out of the backfield, and they're trying not to grind the clock down through the running game.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, to me, Theo was always one of my favorite players. Just kind of an electric guy. I just really need to see a lot more from him, or I need him to. I feel like he could have a perfect role, even if Carrion's the guy, of just, splitting him out, making him our 4th receiver, making him an impactful guy. But I just haven't seen it this year. So, for our offense to be clicking, I feel like he's a key piece that needs to get going these next, handful of games, and towards the back of the year, we're going to need him to make plays. So, we'll see what happens. So, Griff, we'll finish up the podcast. A couple quick questions. Again, we'll kind of rapid fire these, just quick answers from you, and I'll retort a little bit. So our first question is from Lewis. Lewis is from Kalamazoo. He wants to know, is the secondary really the strength of this team?
Yeah, I would say it is. It's they're getting coverage sacks, which is big. I know there's been a few games where we've seen guys just kind of running free on the offense, wondering who's covering these guys. But still, the way they're getting coverage sacks is big. So, yeah, I would say this is a strength of the team. It's also nice when a defensive back makes a tackle 40 yards downfield and they're not getting in their face of the team that, the other guy acting like he just, won the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, we kind of have a quiet secondary that sort of just, the biggest thing is, I know Lewis didn't ask about this, but our stats are great for our secondary as far as, where they rank and some of their numbers. But I also feel like, it's the same with the offensive line. Over the bye week, I heard a few stats of the offensive line. We've talked about how they haven't been very dynamic, but they have the least sacks or the least pressures in all the NFL. And I feel like that's our secondary too, is that they're playing well, they're putting up good numbers, but we don't feel like they're just dominating. But yeah, I'd say too, right now they've got to be the strength of the team, and we've been talking all year about offensive line or other areas being the top there. So Griff, our next question here comes from Big Baby, and Big Baby is right here in Detroit. Big Baby wants to know, Grifka, what's your ideal game day food spread?
And I just like easy stuff I can eat in front of the television, so it's probably like pizza and chicken wings.
What kind of chicken wings do you go with, Grifka?
I always like just the simple honey barbecue. They're kind of sloppy and messy, but was it the buffalo wings? You can either get buffalo wing sauce. It's always either hit or miss with me, so I just always go with the honey barbecue. I pretty much know what I'm getting there.
But are these B-dubs, or these you're getting from the store and making these things?
No, there's a local bar in town, Cody's, which is they have like these massive chicken wings that are really good and they're really sloppy, and I get those.
Oh, okay. All right. Ideal food spread for me. Big Baby in Detroit. I mean, for me, I don't know. Like, I'm the kind of guy where I like to cook up a bunch of food in the oven, but like it's always way too much for me to eat. So like I go with like a smorgasbord. Like I'll have, like maybe some chicken tenders, and then I like if I can get the old tater tots going, I get those going. Maybe if I got a little thing of mac and cheese, might do some of that up. Like you said, chicken wings or something is always a good item. But another thing like I like on a really big game day, Griff, and I only do this every once in a while, it's like it'd be a big game, and I'll go big with my food. Like it's not a Thanksgiving, but I'll either go with like a really nice steak or like a good piece of meat, and then I'll get like stuffing or scalloped potatoes, and I'll get like good rolls. It'll be like a really good dinner, but it's like a big game type of meal. Like, I don't know. To me, like there's nothing better than a good old piece of meat with some good veggies and like some mashed or scalloped potatoes to get going.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So, like you say, everything is good. I'm a big, like, when game day is coming up, like, you got to have some good to eat okay and stuff, but come game day, I like to do it up big where I got a food right at kickoff. That's the best. So, Big Baby, we appreciate the question. I'm sure by that name and probably a big fella, probably enjoys his grub as well. So appreciate that. Our next question is Joey, and Joey comes from the Pacific Northwest. Joey wants to know, do you see Stafford taking control of this team and leading it the rest of the season and beyond?
I think the only way that's going to happen for Stafford if he sits down and watches The Lion King first. So once he watches that, he'll realize what he needs to do to, sit down and, realize what he needs to do to take this team forward. He can sit down, at the piano, play that, drink some wine, put The Lion King on the background, and just reflect on, what he needs to do to lead this team to greatness.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, instead of Lion King, I think this guy has to, like, be that leader, not that, yes man, not that corporate guy. Like, just grab this team by the throat and make plays. I mean, that's what this team's been wanting. We've had a few other quarterbacks that, they might have had talent. Yeah, we might have rooted for them, but they were just kind of wimpy. And, like, I don't want Stafford to fall into that. And he does at some point. So have number 9 be a leader, be outspoken, and, really, like, be that leader that Detroit's always wanted at the quarterback position. So I sure hope so, but TBD for me. I mean, I still want to see it from him. So our final question, Griffith, comes from Indamakung, and he's in LA these days. He says, I visited both Miami and Detroit. Which city would you choose out of these two?
Oh, gosh. Now, you know me, I love going to the D. I really love hanging out in Detroit. I really do. But gosh, man, South Beach is freaking cool. If you've never been to South Beach, go to South Beach.
Have you been to South Beach?
Oh, gosh. Yes, I have.
Have you? You don't seem
Yes,
like
I
a
have
South
been to
Beach
South
guy to
Beach.
me. What do you do there? You
Yes,
hang out in the sun and go on a strip, or what?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you just go to the beach and you hang out on the beach. And I mean, you hang out on the beach. And then you hit the bars on South Beach, at night. But I
You
have
do?
done that. I was younger, before kids, but oh my gosh. But if at this age, where I'm at in my life, I would pick going to Detroit because I just love going to Detroit. But gosh, South Beach of Miami is so freaking cool.
Wow, that surprises me. I actually took a girlfriend to Miami on a vacay, and like we had the coolest hotel, Grifka. It was like this. We were on probably like the 15th, 20th floor, and then when you went up to the 30th floor, it was like this whole. There was like a pool on top of, like, you're only in the middle of the building, but there was just a pool, like, I don't even know how to explain it, outside, but like in the middle of the hotel. It was like this own little village. It had like. It was like a place I never go, right? Like a place Oakley would never go, but it was a baller ass hotel, like even from the room to everything. And then, like you said, we went down and hung out the water and walked around town. I went to a really nice steak restaurant right on the strip there. Prime, what's it? Prime or whatever is the big steak spot. We went right on the and South Beach there. So it was nice, but like to me, I mean, there's lots of other places. Like Hawaii's been the place I always want to go. I mean, to me, I'm not an LA guy either, but to me, like, I love Michigan for the seasons and whatnot. But I mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably either be, somewhere other than Detroit or Miami. But I'd go for Detroit for the sports and for some of the fall season. But like you said, Miami has got some stuff going for it. So with that being said, we're going to be talking all about Miami on Friday's episode. We didn't talk about it much today, but this is a huge game against the Dolphins, Grifka. I'll talk about it a ton when we get to it, but to me, it's a must-win. It's a big game. The Lions are coming off a bye. They got some mojo. They got some gusto. The Dolphins got some major issues, especially at the quarterback position, and we're going to be talking all about it on the next Kool-Aid cast. So, Grifka, you got anything else for the people before we get out of here?
No, I don't.
Perfect. That's what we expect, and we just want to thank everybody for listening. We want to thank Grifka for all his wisdom today and unbelievable takes, and for all the Kool-Aid he's been drinking on the bye week, because once again, he agrees with me on most things except for that big Ziggy issue, which I'm sure we'll get back into again on another show. And for everybody, please subscribe, please share with a friend, and please check us out on Friday when we're talking all about Lions, Dolphins, and we can't wait to get our Lions back on the field this Sunday. So everybody, drink it in, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over.
What a comeback by the Lions!
Drink it in, man.